I just thought she was showing me a dead body. I didn't know too much about the fentanyl.
That is wide open terrain to get into Canada.
It just illustrates how vulnerable that border is, how vulnerable the community is here.
You lost your son to fentanyl, but you also lost your daughter, both kids. And I cannot imagine what that is like.
Authorities say the cartels have brought guns, crime, meth, and fentanyl.
Tracking a surge in fentanyl seizures in Montana as the crisis continues in the state.
The cartels are here in the state of Montana.
The Mexican cartels, along with other worldwide transnational criminal organizations, or TCOs, have become the biggest domestic public safety threat and some of the greatest destroyers of our natural resources, especially on tribal lands.
Macy! Luna! We're gonna make this a happy place. And so I have
Your son passed here.
He passed here, yeah.
Can I ask you about some pictures in your living room?
Yeah, sure. All my pictures are kind of, I tucked them away after.
So are these your kids?
That's Selena. She's the oldest. Those are my oldest two children. And these are her children. So we come.
These are Selena's
kids. My son was a lineman. He lived in Texas and he moved back during COVID. And I want to say he moved out there in 2015 and to San Angelo, Texas. And then he met another Browning girl. And so her son, my grandson is by no blood, but my son raised him, and that's my grandkid. And so that's his.
These are the grandkids?
These are the grandkids.
These are your son's kids?
Yes.
3 boys.
3 huge boys.
You look at that.
Yes.
You're a boy grandma.
Yes, and they look just like their father. We had kind of been, I knew something was happening because his behaviors, his demeanor was changing, and he was very down. And I was searching on different activities for families, to reunite, let's do this so we could get them involved, he and his wife.
Yeah.
And so she had come into the room, I believe it was like 3 a.m, and she was twice the first time, and she's like turned on the light, and the babies, all I remember basically is the babies were hovered in my bed. And then she said, Marla, and I come in here, my son was laying on the floor, and I just thought she was showing me a dead body. He was still alive at that time. I didn't know that. I didn't know too much about the fentanyl. For me was fairly new. I hadn't educated myself on that. His autopsy is 10-point. It was 3 times over the limit. It's only administered in a hospital setting, 5.25, I believe it was, that you can overdose in a hospital setting, and he had 10-point.
So he was in this room and he took fentanyl-laced pills?
So it became an investigation because the girlfriend, not the wife, the girlfriend had said she gave him a Suboxone pill.
You lost your son to fentanyl, but you also lost your daughter, both kids. And I cannot imagine what that is like. Now you don't have your son or your daughter. What does that look like for you? What goes through your mind? I'm sorry. You can take your time.
Well, to a point, and it was the realization that, Selena was there. She was there for, after she lost her brother, I think she hit the fentanyl really, really, she really dove into it, and it's the realization is like I miss somebody shared a body. I shared one heartbeat, one body with him, but if they were here, they would be stuck in addiction, unhappy. I see addicts, and they have the same look that my son had. My son was happy, and he moved back here, and I knew him so well that I knew there was something. He didn't feel confident about himself. It takes everything. It took everything from my children. Selena wrote me a couple days before. She texted me, and she said, "Mom, I'm not living." She couldn't. I believe she had underlying issues. I feel in my heart that she may have had some kind of cancer. She would just lay in the room, and she would just sleep. And when she was active, when she had the pills, and I became where I was like, okay, I had to sacrifice one thing, the gabapentins. And she that was, and I had to.
It would help her sleep.
Yeah, and help the pain. And I fought the fight. I became the addict with her for many years. She was very close to me. But we fought like hell. I actually did pay some dealers off. I don't think I paid dealers, but I gave her, to save her life. I followed her. Our life became, I became trapped in it.
Do you ever worry that the grandbabies could end up like your kids?
Yes.
How do you navigate that?
How I navigate that is I talk. I talk to them, and I'm very open. This is addiction. They knew. We talked about their auntie Selena. That was their favorite aunt. She was at her.
She was fun, wasn't she?
She was a firecracker. She loved to be here. I talk to them about it. This is what your dad did. Your dad was, this is what pills. That's why Grandma doesn't, we talk about it. We talk. Okay. I let them draw.
I saw the screams.
Yeah. That's
Does he like horror?
No, he doesn't.
But he knows how to draw that.
That's what I said. I said, what are you feeling right now? So this little art, so my oldest granddaughter, Kinsley, it started with that little piece of cardboard, and there's a backside to it, and it started just right after my son died. They drew. So Kinsley's the artist. Okay. And amazing. So I told her one day we were coming out, and I said, Kinsley, you can go to American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, and she would leave me notes. I still have them. I have everything. I love you. And I was like, who taught you how to write? She had great penmanship, and she could, and I thought she was tracing. No, Grandma. And so at my work, I had all these art. So that's how they speak. So they started drawing things. Well, what is this? And then I became involved. Well, what is this? This is my dad on one part. So it's all kind of covered up. So we just went out, and I said, that's the way they like to draw.
I really appreciate you for entrusting us with this story, because I know it's not easy. No. And you're a very brave lady. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Can I give you a hug?
Sure.
Thank you so much, Marla.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. This episode is brought to you by our partners at GHOSTBED. And today I'm actually sitting down with its founder, Mark Warner, to talk about the story behind their brand and why they're all in on all of us getting better sleep.
I've had 3 neck surgeries over the past 27 years. And so I couldn't find a pillow or mattress that worked for me. And so I ended up having to invent my own. I took great care in it so it would take care of my problems. And then I also sleep warm, so I invented a lot of cooling technologies and got a number of patents on that kind of technology. So that was the origin of the purpose. But I wanted to start it with my wife and then my kids as a family business. So my grandfather After World War I, he started the Werner Company, which ultimately became Werner Ladder. And then my dad invented the aluminum ladder, the machines to make it, and then he invented the fiberglass ladder and fiberglass and the machines to make that. So I was reared in that environment of quality, engineering, inventing, all that kind of stuff. And I grew up in that. So when I was starting GHOSTBED and making my own memory foam pillows and mattress, that was my kind of history, and allowed me to kind of really make a very quality product. And that's really how we got started. And we're all about high quality at an affordable price. So for all of our Ironclad viewers, we have a special offer. So you go to ghostbed.com/ironclad, and we're giving an extra 15% off, which is a really big discount on already low prices. To come to GHOSTBED, take advantage of that special pricing with Ironclad, and enjoy a GHOSTBED mattress and other products.
We're gonna take you guys up to the northern border.
All of those drugs we just talked about, bring in humans on human smuggling, and various other, contraband. It's a lot easier to do up here. So, and it's literally in my backyard, unfortunately.
Montana, which borders with Alberta, we're actually in ground zero for the fentanyl overdose death crisis. I remember the first time seeing videos and reports about the extent in which people were dying from fentanyl overdose all came from this prairie Rocky Mountain region. And that's vast. And throughout these regions, there are vulnerable groups that kind of fell victim to this crisis that was going overlooked for a long period of time. And especially during COVID, because there was this public health crisis on COVID, while at the same time, overdose death rates skyrocketed like never before, and particularly here and in Alberta. So it was a cross-border problem.
We're less than 5 miles from the northern border, and if you look around out the windows of the truck here, look how wide open this is. And not only is it remote as Montana is in general for everybody in Montana, but we're in the middle of the Blackfeet tribal nation that goes from northern Montana, right by Glacier National Park, all the way through Canada, and has part of their tribe on the Canadian province. So what border protection are we going to have? How effective can it be in this span? Now, we might go through a check station, but we'll find a spot where we can go out and just look over a prairie like that. And this is wide open country. Anybody could get across this, because it's so wide open, especially after dark. And as hard as Border Patrol works to interdict this stuff, how many officers do you need to really secure the northern border that is, as you just said, is so wide open in 5,000 miles
so
of
vast.
wilderness?
Yeah.
You'd have to have, thousands of an army, an armada of personnel to even put a dent in.
Is that Border Patrol right there?
This is Border Patrol right here. So here we are right at the start into Canada.
All right, so we are literally right along the open U.S.-Canada border. I know all of you guys are going to make fun of me the same way John and my cameraman have been, that you're Canadian, why are you cold? You know what? Shut the hell up. So right behind us is Canada. You can look. That is wide open terrain to get into Canada. We're still on the United States side, and this is still Blackfeet Nation, right?
Yeah, we are in Blackfeet Tribal Nation land. Like you said, Kat, we have the Canadian border not far behind us. And it just illustrates in the vastness of this, how vulnerable that border is, how vulnerable the community is here, and how vulnerable American communities outside, really east to west of the boundary of America, 5,000 miles of mostly this, and more timber, dense woods around the border like where I'm at west of here. But this shows you what we're up against when it comes to trying to stop any type of threat that we described today and discussed.
One thing I must say for sure, though, is that a lot of the people coming through here, I would argue, it's a lot harder in terms of the terrain and the climate. And you're not going to see a similar sight you see in the US, which are the scattered passports, the SIM cards, the cell phones. And that's because since there is such a lack of law enforcement presence here, People aren't worried about discarding things that identify them because they know that the likelihood of them being stopped by Border Patrol on either sides of the border is slim to none.
And another main reason why this border is so vulnerable and so easy to get across is because we're on tribal nation land. This is Blackfeet tribal nation land. You don't have Border Patrol running all around on this border protection site. You can't. And if it's like many other tribes that have approximately 2 tribal police officers for as much as 400,000, possibly 500,000 square acres. And that's a lot of land, if you look around us with the Rockies back there, of how much terrain they have to patrol. There's no way they can even be expected to make a dent in it. And that's where the problem lies and why these areas are targeted.
What we do at Ironclad doesn't happen by accident. It exists because a small number of brands choose to stand behind us. These are brands that believe in the same things we do: craftsmanship, independence, and building something real that lasts. Norwood Sawmills is one of those brands. They believe in the people behind the network, the builders, the landowners, the doers, and the craftsmen who value control over their work and pride in how it's done. That alignment matters to us, and it's why we're proud to stand with them. Norwood Sawmills designs portable sawmills that give you the ability to make your own lumber on your land, on your timeline, without sacrificing quality or performance. For over 30 years, they've been building equipment that's engineered to last and designed to grow with you, whether you're a serious DIY builder or a professional sawyer. If you care about quality, if you care about independence, and if you're considering investing in your land, your projects, your long-term capability, Norwood is worth your time. We encourage you to support the brands that support this network. To learn more, explore their portable sawmills and talk directly to their team at norwoodsawmills.com.
Road highways, I mean, just up in Lincoln County where I live, the Yak Highway for one, it doesn't even look like a highway. It looks like a 2-lane, basically mountain road. Those of us that love the outdoors, we like the charm of it, but we also have the threat of people that can hide a lot easier.
For sure.
So smugglers for sure, drug traffickers for sure, and we've had them come down that Yak Highway area, both in the woods in the past. Now, obviously, you can slip across the Canadian border in any remote stretch, very clandestine, no problem, because things are so densely populated with forest, with rivers and waterways and trails. We've seen this even in the national forest by my house in previous years, where what is a running hiking trail a stone's throw from the back door, a trafficker is moving through there, or a smuggler is moving through there, and had Border Patrol and had Forest Service officers actually in pursuit of those individuals in the backyard in a remote little mountain town where you would never anticipate this happening. All those wildlife that people want to protect and they want to have to enjoy, whether you hunt or not. Who would think that cartels in their crimes to poison us, to destroy our community, to make a ton of money off our misery as Americans, as tribal nations as well, who would think that that would also translate into destroying the very environment that the tribal nations thrive on for their sacred fish, for their wildlife that they consume and they hunt, just like we do outside of tribal nations in the conservation world. So what the cartels are doing in America are what I consider two of the double-pronged evil. They're destroying us at the expense of money and eroding our communities from a health and human safety standpoint, and they're destroying the precious triple W's, wildlife, wildlands, and waterways, that whether you're an environmentalist or not, nobody wants to see this stuff destroyed. Nobody wants to see a river that's going to be poisoned. Nobody wants to have poisoned drinking water.
What is being done in Montana or in this area where we, heard earlier that there is a lot of tragedy because of the access to drugs and the high addiction levels? Is anything being done here to kind of stop this, prevent it in any way? I mean, I know that, legal action, like in that case, it could be effective, but there's always kind of this open gap, I find, especially in our region here, up north.
Our tribal nations are being impacted all over the U.S. with those overdoses, with the cartels preying upon them because they can get away with so much. There's so few tribal policemen that have massive territories to cover. They don't have the resources to fight it. And we have impoverished communities in general that find themselves prone to addiction, and they're very easy prey for the cartels with fentanyl, with methamphetamine, and any other crimes that they can get away with in those nations. You have 2 officers for 400 to 500,000 square miles typically. That is ridiculous. There is no way 2 officers in an area that big are going to have any significant deterrence effect on any cartel trafficking humans.
No, of course not.
Fentanyl, distributing fentanyl, methamphetamine, child trafficking, gun running, whatever the case may be. So, because of jurisdictional issues between tribal nations and U.S. federal, state, and local law enforcement having distinct jurisdictional boundaries where they can't work in each other's spaces. Like, without a memorandum of understanding, I could not go as a state or federal game warden onto the Blackfeet tribe where we're at today and arrest somebody for a cartel drug trafficking crime.
Yeah, no.
And they can't work on our area. But now what we're trying to do, and this is something I've been pushing, and when I testified in Congress on this issue, specifically the hearing that was all about cartel impacts on tribal nations, not just environmental but public safety, I said one of the things we have to do is we have to get the plethora of federal, state, and local law enforcement, highly trained, skilled in doing this stuff outside of tribal nations, to basically be a force multiplier with tribal nations. We all have to work together and not have jurisdictional boundaries and attack it as a national problem where it's not a tribal nation problem, it's not a U.S. citizen of America problem, it's a nationwide problem.
So we're at the Blackfeet Enforcement Police Department. Let's see if we can chat with the police chief. We've been trying to reach out to her for about a week and have been kind of getting the runaround. So I'm curious to see how 911 services, what they have to say about what's going on in this community and in this region.
I work here. I'm the officer. So the busts are mine, and they're people from Washington, legit from Washington. That's the majority of my cases come from Washington. I've had one case in the past 3 years that involved coming from Canada, and that was an individual that walked across the border by BAB. We did locate him, but we couldn't find the drugs that he hid. But literally all he did was walk across with a backpack. That was it. By the time I got out there, we were able to track him, but like I said, it's 40 minutes north, and it's so vast, it's hard to tell, if they come across, they can hide anywhere.
Yeah, but you got him?
Yeah, we caught him, so we didn't get the drugs that he was supposed to have.
Was he like Canadian, American, Mexican?
He was actually native.
Oh, he was?
This reservation.
Okay.
But we haven't had any reports of people being recruited, anything like that. Majority of my cases that involve locals, are addicts that are feeding their addiction. I know. Coming into that connection. Yeah. And they're being fed that, they're being fed that drug and offering that asylum to these dealers, just as payment, they're getting their drugs. So.
How much does a fentanyl pill cost around here?
A single fentanyl pill depends on the quantity that's in town. They went as low as $10 a pill, and high as $40 to $50.
Okay.
And that's the same as they're moving more to fentanyl powder now.
Yeah.
And that's, they call it a point, which is 1/10 of a gram. That's $40.
Okay. Yeah, well, I've seen there's been a lot of tragedy because of the fentanyl here. Yeah. It's horrible. Like, I can't imagine doing your job. It's tragic.
Yeah. And then it's me, and I have one partner, basically, that he's employed with county.
And it's just the two of you running this whole area?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
We work closely with DEA. We're task force with the FBI, so we have the same jurisdiction as the FDS. So we try to employ a lot of outside resources that come with this. pretty successful. But I mean, we take out one, and 3 more will take their spots.
It's a hydra. When that operation happened in 2023, when they got the Mexican guy with the Jalisco cartel, were you a part of that?
Yeah.
And how big was his operation of the smuggling? Because I know it was drugs and guns, right?
Yeah, a lot of them are. A lot of the payment is they do on the barter system. So a lot of the payment here, locals will steal and pay them in stolen guns, stolen merchandise, and stuff like that. Luckily, none of the operations here were too huge. We were able to stop them before they got too big. So.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Borderland Dispatches, an Ironclad original with yours truly, Katarina Szulc, and thank you so much, John, for joining us. I know you guys are super interested in everything northern border, but please do not make me come back here again. It is way too cold. As always, see you next time.